Good afternoon, students. Last class our discussion was about Lord Wellesley's subsidiary alliance system. It was one diplomatic policy that introduced by the Britishers to implement their rule in India, otherwise to expand their rule in India. Based on that, we had seen that within 7 years Lord Wellesley succeeded in that, and many parts of India became under the rule of Britishers. Now we are moving next to the Dalhousie's policy. Have you heard the word Dalhousie? Dalhousie is a place also. It's a hill station in Himachal Pradesh. How did that place get its name, Dalhousie? If you look at your map, otherwise atlas, you can see that place, a hill station in Himachal Pradesh. You know how did that place get its name? It is related to this British person, Lord Dalhousie. That name related to Lord Dalhousie. And what was the effect of Lord Dalhousie's rule? Otherwise, when he became the Governor General, what were the changes he brought in India, and what was his policy? Just like that of subsidiary alliance of Wellesley, this Lord Dalhousie also introduced a policy, and that policy's name is annexation policy. Annexation policy. You know what is annexation? To join with something, annexation. So from this word itself it is clear that he wanted to increase the territory. He wanted to join the other kingdoms, princely states kingdoms, also to the territory that is already taken by Wellesley through subsidiary alliance system. So he was very much interested to annex the other regions also, which was not taken by Wellesley. So now his aim is that only, to annex the other regions. Now let us see. The aim of Wellesley's policy of expansion was to enslave the native kingdoms. We had seen that how did the native kingdoms become enslaved due to the policy, because many offers he had given in the beginning, and the native kingdom rulers, they felt that it was just like a very good opportunity that without any tension they can live, but gradually they felt that it was a sweet poison, otherwise a slow poison. So first in the beginning they became enslaved, and the native kingdoms, without using much of the British resources also. And that another technique also, we had seen that they did not even spend a single penny. Without spending money, they were able to maintain the army. That was the aim of Wellesley's policy. In the first paragraph it is mentioning about Wellesley's policy. Now the states that accepted the subsidiary alliance considered the British as their friends, because annexation policy, it's a continuation of Wellesley's subsidiary alliance system. What happened after accepting the subsidiary alliance system? The rulers, those who are accepted like Hyderabad, Nizam, Mysore and all others, those who had accepted, they felt that, like that many were there, they felt that already now a British army is with them, and also one person is there in the British royal court. What is there to afraid? Whatever happening, the threat from the other regions, from the outer regions, from the other princely states will be easily managed. They were thinking like that, all the threats would be easily managed with the help of this British army, and the royal person is also there as a representative in the court. So by thinking this way, what happened to them? They all became lazy. The rulers became lazy. Gradually it is happening. If someone is there to do our duty, to do our work, we gradually became lazy, because we will think that the other person will do. What is there to worry? So our rulers also, the native rulers also did the same thing. Because of that, eventually, gradually, there was not a proper rule in these princely states. What happened to them? Why proper rule was not there? Because they felt that there is no need of tension, any internal and external tension, threat will not be there, because they already are safe under subsidiary alliance system. Then afterwards, after taking time, gradually only they could come to know that subsidiary alliance was a sweet poison. In the beginning, they all were very happy with that, because of the offer that the British East India Company given by Lord Wellesley. Now, when they became lazy, we know if a ruler became lazy, otherwise if a person, very authorized person, otherwise a dutiful person became lazy, what happens? Nothing will be proper in his office, otherwise in his house, in his country, everything will be collapsed. Nobody is there to take care of. The same thing happened with the princely states also. Then what happened? All they became irresponsible, and so that the administration started to deteriorate. Started to spoil. Administration, no one is taking care. And this was actually wanted to the East India Company, otherwise to the Britishers. Otherwise, this Lord Dalhousie. After Wellesley's rule, all the native kings became very lazy, and they were thinking that the British army will manage, the royal person in the court will manage everything, there won't be any problem. So they lived like that only, they lived with pleasure. So administrative section started to deteriorate, spoiled. Then this was the opportunity to the Britishers to enter into the administrative system. That was their policy, the tactic that they have used. As a result, what happened? The Britishers, otherwise East India Company, convinced the native rulers that there is a lot of anarchy, misrule in your region. So it is not proper. We are able to manage that. You stay there only as a princely king. But we are able to manage whatever the misrule is happening in your kingdom. Our foolish native kings, many of them agreed with that also, because they wanted to be lazy only. They wanted to sit like that only. So the Britishers, East India Company took that opportunity, and they convinced the native kings that we will manage the situation and the misrule, otherwise the anarchy will be removed. We will help you for that. We are ready to help you for that, the native prince, otherwise the native king. So our native rulers also agreed, all the princely states agreed, yes, anarchy is there, they know, misrule is there, they know. Now it will be solved by the British East India Company, otherwise the Britishers under the leadership of Dalhousie. That was his policy of annexation. Now look at your textbook, second paragraph. The states that accepted subsidiary alliance considered the British as their friends. Eventually, in the absence of internal and external threat, there was no threat, no tension, no fear, internally and externally. They became irresponsible and the administration started deteriorating. So what happened to the Indian native rulers who accepted subsidiary alliance system? Underline this paragraph from the beginning, second paragraph. The states that accepted subsidiary alliance considered the British as their friends, and eventually in the absence of internal and external threat, they became irresponsible and the administration deteriorated. Then what happened? What is the next result of this? The outcome of the conspiracy of the British was that the anarchy in many princely states. There was conspiracy, there was cheating. So they spread that there is anarchy in many princely states. The British East India Company said like that. Actually anarchy was also there. In many princely states anarchy was there, and also due to this conspiracy and cheating of the British, there were a lot of anarchy, otherwise misruling system was there. The Indian rulers really got trapped in it. They were really trapped because of this policy. And one side Britishers wanted to make them anarchical only, otherwise they wanted to make them rule in an improper way. And from the other sides they were telling that, see, anarchy is there, misrule is there, we are ready to help you. This was the policy that they adopted. The British got an excuse to start interfering into the internal affairs of these states on the pretext of putting an end to the anarchy. Underline that sentence also. When Indian rulers got trapped because of her laziness and the policy of subsidiary alliance, what was the offer given by the British East India Company? They got an excuse to start what? In interfering the internal affairs of the state. They were trying to interfere in the internal ruling matters of each and every princely states in pretext. Actually it was a drama. They were showing only. Actually it was not from their heart. Just they were showing. It was a dramatic approach by the British East India Company. And what was the pretext? Of putting an end to the anarchy, misrule. They wanted to stop the misrule, so we are helpful for you. They annexed many states under the same excuse. Because of this annexation policy, they annexed many states and including Burma and Punjab. Burma means Myanmar. Right now Burma is known as Myanmar. Myanmar and Punjab, almost all regions. Punjab already we had seen last class, and afterwards the remaining regions also, because of Anglo war, the Britishers conducted war and they completely taken Punjab region, Myanmar and the remaining many other princely state. This was the main thing that Dalhousie done to expand the British rule in India. So how did you explain that Dalhousie's annexation policy? The first point is that the princely states, those who had accepted subsidiary alliance system, Wellesley subsidiary alliance system, gradually became irresponsible and lazy, because they thought that the British army is there and in the royal court British person is also there. So misrule, otherwise anarchy started in each and every princely states. The Britishers took this opportunity and they were trying to enter into the internal political system, otherwise internal ruling system of these princely states, in pretext of removing this anarchy, otherwise in pretext of helping, otherwise escaping from this misrule. So the states accepted that, and this way they annexed, they gradually joined all these anarchical rule, otherwise misruled princely states to their region. Many states, and afterwards Burma, otherwise Myanmar and Punjab also they were annexed. And one more policy he introduced, that house he introduced along with this, that is known as doctrine of lapse. It is not mentioned in your textbook, doctrine of lapse. It is a part of annexation policy only, but in another name, that is known as doctrine of lapse. What was doctrine of lapse? According to this doctrine of lapse, if any king died without a son, his state was annexed. Suppose one princely state, the ruler, he did not have son, only daughters. If son is not there, Britishers told, through this doctrine of lapse, Britishers told that as there is no heir, next ruler there is no next ruler in your kingdom, so definitely that will be annexed to the territory of British East India Company. In this way also many states they had annexed, especially because of this doctrine of lapse. The states which were annexed was Satara, Jhansi and Nagpur mainly. You under doctrine of lapse, Satara, Jhansi and Nagpur. You might have heard about Jhansi Rani, and how did she react with the Britishers. She was also not having a son, but she was having only an adopted son. but Britishers did not agree with the adopted son. So she became the enemy of Britishers. That about Jhansi Rani, when we will learn, we can come to know about all these things. So in this paragraph, mainly Dalhousie's two policies are there. One is annexation policy. In annexation policy, mainly you should mention about the misrule of the princely states after accepting subsidiary alliance system, and in protest to remove that, Britishers entered into the political field of Indian princely states. Second one is doctrine of lapse. That particular term is not mentioned in the textbook. You can write it over there. Doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse means if any king died without son, that region automatically will be annexed by the Britishers. They will join it to the British territory. And one more point is there in the next page. Dalhousie aimed at helping the British traders to make huge profit from the trade of tea, coffee and cotton. Mainly 2-3 cultivations at that time. Tea cultivation, coffee cultivation and cotton cultivation. Different parts of India, differently as Assam, that type of region, tea, and then southern side coffee, and Gujarat, that type of region, cotton. And these three mainly profit aiming trade was this: cotton, coffee and tea. Now Dalhousie aimed to help the British traders. Indian traders were doing. He adopted some policies that Britishers will control this trade. Even if the farmers were working in tea, otherwise coffee field, otherwise in plantation, they were doing cotton and everything. But ultimately, because of some policies which Dalhousie adopted, the Britishers got chance to trade all these things. What was the aim behind that? To make huge profit. And gradually, what did Dalhousie do? All these regions where tea, coffee and cotton were cultivating, that regions also annexed to the British territory. Otherwise annexed under British East India Company's rule. So this third one is also there, tea, coffee and cotton cultivation regions. That also annexed by the policy of Lord Dalhousie. So three main points are there in annexation policy. First one is about misrule, second one is about doctrine of lapse, if king died without son, that point. Third one, tea, coffee and cotton plantation, where the Britishers' aim was to make huge profit from this trade. So Britishers followed some policies, so they got opportunity. Otherwise they took opportunity to trade this and they captured these areas, otherwise annexed these areas to their territory. In this way, almost all areas of India in different parts became under British East India Company's rule. Now see, Dalhousie aimed at helping the British traders to make huge profit from the trade of tea, coffee and cotton by capturing that areas and produced these commodities on large scale. To consolidate the British rule in India and to run the administration smoothly, many changes were introduced by Dalhousie. Now when we otherwise think about the person Dalhousie and accession policy of Dalhousie. From one side he had done all these things, but he had done some other things also that all that things were really beneficial to India. So in both the way we can consider, but beneficial in the sense this was a blessing in disguise. These benefits Dalhousie introduced for their own advantage, for Britishers' advantage, but by chance we also got the advantage. That is why some good points are also there with Dalhousie. So which were that main benefits, otherwise some advantages that Indians got during Dalhousie's rule. Now see, almost all regions were under Britishers. So now the administration must be going on in a smooth way. If the administration is not proper, the trade, otherwise the language, the other things, the business and other related activities tax and other things, everything to be managed. If it is not managing properly, Britishers could not earn much. So Dalhousie was a clever person, so he thought that to manage all these things in a proper way, what to be done. So he introduced something. The first point was that during his time, his tenure, his rule, the first railway line introduced in India. So advantages of Dalhousie's rule. First one, railway introduced. Railway introduced in the year 1853 between Mumbai and Thane. That was the first railway line in India, first rail trains that travelled between Mumbai and Thane in 1853, introduced by Lord Dalhousie. Now you will think that why? To give comfort to Indian travellers? No. The aim of the British East India Company was to transport their weapons and their persons from one place to another. That was their intention. Earlier we know, if in ancient history, when we know first lesson, we had seen that they were preferring sea route. But gradually this sea route was avoided. Bharuch itself was a famous port. Ships were coming and going from Bharuch port only in ancient time, through Britain and to other European countries and other Western countries also. When this Golden Bridge constructed, and afterwards, we know, if you see the Golden Bridge, the year and date and everything is written on that. Britishers only done this. What was the purpose? Because at that time, Bharuch port's importance was almost reduced, and now they wanted to trade with other regions, especially Mumbai. And for that purpose, they wanted to introduce some travelling system. So they planning already railway introduced, and through this railway and that railway bridge also. So for that purpose only this Golden Bridge also constructed, Britishers. Otherwise, bridge is not constructing. Even at that time also, Bharuch was a port. Bharuch was using as a port to communicate, otherwise to embarkment of many things from India to Western countries. But gradually that port's importance reduced. Golden Bridge they constructed, and through Golden Bridge also transportation and communication was possible, especially the things that they had taken to Mumbai and Surat also. Surat also gradually became a trade center. Mumbai was the biggest trade center after that. So first one, during that time, railway introduced. And what was the second one? The postal system started in India, and the wireless system between India and England was introduced during this tenure. During Dalhousie's time, modern postal system and wireless system. Postal and wireless system introduced. For what purpose? To communicate with Britain, England. Not for not to give any chance, otherwise any benefit to Indians. But we also got benefit from that. That's why I told it was a blessing in disguise. Introduced his tenure, wireless system and postal system, modern postal system between India and England. Between mainly India and England, otherwise India and the other European countries. Then another one positive thing is that he passed laws to ban child marriage and also advocated widow remarriage. At that time in India, many orthodox concepts were there, like child marriage. From the early childhood, they were planning, they were getting married. And also once husband died, widows were not allowed to remarry. Last year we had studied about Johar and all these systems, Sati system and everything in 7th standard. So widows were not allowed to remarry. But these two systems, Lord Dalhousie changed. He introduced, otherwise he banned child marriage and advocated widow remarriage. That was also a positive point when at his ruling time. He banned child marriage. And promoted, otherwise advocated widow remarriage. advocated widow remarriage also. Then another thing, English education spread in India during this time. Actually, English education started by another Lord, Lord Macaulay. But that spread in this time. Why English education spread in this time? Because almost all princely states, they were using their native language only. Britishers were not able to communicate with these people because their language is English. Nowadays you are studying in English medium because of British people only. So the native language, they were not communicate with these people. So they started to spread English education wherever possible, more English schools and other things they started. So this is also a plus point to India, that is they spread English education. And first 3 universities in India were established in 1857, that is in Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata. 3 universities. Actually that is after the time of Dalhousie only, but Dalhousie has given some importance to this based on a resolution. Charles Wood, his name was Charles Wood, a British person. His resolution was there in 1854 that more importance to be given to English education and also to universities for higher studies. Based on that, in 1857, immediately after till 1856 Dalhousie was there, but immediately after Dalhousie's rule in 1857 3 universities established. That also became a plus point, where the universities Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata. 3 universities established, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata. Mumbai, earlier name was Bombay, Chennai, Madras, Kolkata, Calcutta in the year 1856. Thus, these reforms were basically for the expansion of British rule, not to give any benefit to Indians. Basically their aim was to expand British rule in India and ease the administration. Their administration must go on in a smooth way. So that was their intention. So underline that point also. What was the main purpose behind these reforms? Otherwise behind whatever the reforms they introduced. These reforms were basically for the expansion of British rule and ease administration. But Indians benefited from it later on. They had to suffer a lot with the introduction of British reforms. A lot of problems were there in the beginning, but gradually Indians got benefit from this. So this paragraph is very important about Lord Dalhousie. What did we learn today? Just to remember that his policy's name is annexation policy. In annexation policy, which points you should follow, that I told. Second one is doctrine of lapse also. Third one, tea, coffee, cotton, that also there. And afterwards Lord Dalhousie introduced some reforms in India that for the benefit, otherwise to expand the British rule in India only, but later on Indians also got that benefits. Now see next question, the British established the thing question. The previous page thing question we will explain later, but here the thing question, the British established their rule almost all over India in very short time period with the policy of subsidiary alliance and policy of annexation. How did this happen? Now you are clear. What was subsidiary alliance, who introduced this, and through subsidiary alliance which areas were covered under British East India Company. The next one is what was annexation policy, who introduced this, which were the main points in that and which were the areas covered. So this question write as a short note. Mention there it is a short note, and in this you should mention about subsidiary alliance policy and annexation policy, but no need to mention the reforms of Dalhousie. The reforms that brought by Dalhousie, that no need to mention. Only about the policy and the areas that were taken through these policies by British East India Company. So this is a short note to prepare it. Next one, no need to do. Now dissatisfaction of people. After the policy of subsidiary alliance and Dalhousie's annexation policy, the whole nation, entire India was in a terrible situation. This resulted in the dissatisfaction among the people towards the British. Now they felt, beginning they were offering a lot of things, but gradually they felt that all these things are not good for us. See two films here mentioning Kranti and Mangal Pandey. If you get a chance, you see this during this lockdown period, download and watch this movie Kranti and Mangal Pandey for arousing. Otherwise, these two films give you a patriotic feeling. At this time, the people were suppressed under the rule of Britishers. Really, they were very much suppressed. In addition to that, the reforms made by Dalhousie added fuel to fire. These were good reforms that Dalhousie introduced. Then also, the Indians feel like that these all are something bad. Why did they think so at that time? Because the Indian people were very orthodox. Orthodox in the means that the people, otherwise the concept, they are not ready to going to accept the changes. Whatever the changes coming, they don't want to accept with that. They wanted to follow the tradition and custom only, the virtues of that only. But sometimes you have to change according to the situation. If we do not change with the situation, we will become orthodox people only. So at that time, Indians were very orthodox. Then what happened? They thought that all these reforms made, no, that is not good for India. And Britishers, they were going to change the culture and tradition of India. Otherwise, they were planning to spoil the culture and tradition of India. So automatically, they were getting afraid. Indians were getting afraid, especially Orthodox people. Less education was there. English education started to spread. Then also, not much were there. So the local people, Orthodox people, they were afraid that what was happening. Otherwise, why they are doing, the Britishers are doing, introducing railway. Even Indians were not ready to enter into train also. It was fearful to them. And they were thinking that Britishers, they were Christian people, they were trying to convert the Hindu people of India, because even they started a lot of construct churches and worshipping and everything they started in India also. So they thought that totally Indian culture they are spoiling. Basically India, in Hindu concept, Sanskrit language, divine language, they thought that when you study English, Sanskrit language importance, the culture and tradition related to that, everything will be spoiled. So Orthodox people were not ready to accept all these things. So thinking that this should not be happened in India. Anyway, we have to remove these Britishers. But from one side, the Orthodox feeling, that also made them to think like that Britishers should be left from India, and the other side, whatever the policies they brought, the Indians were fed up with that. Now see, the different people reacted differently to railway, facilities of post and telegraph, and Western education. Orthodox people felt that the British wanted to destroy their culture. These reforms done by the Britishers were basically for running the administration smoothly. Actually, Britishers were not having that much of intention. They wanted to run their administration in a smooth way. For that only they introduced all these things. But Indians thought that they were trying to spoil the culture of India. The dissatisfaction of people had reached a point of saturation, and they were in the state of rebellion, which resulted in the freedom movement of 1857. Altogether, from both the side, Orthodox mentality and the policies of Britishers, altogether the Indian people were very much dissatisfied, and it was just like boiling, otherwise just like a volcano, and that is erupted in 1857. The last chapter, it is coming 1857 revolt. But what were the reasons behind 1857 revolt? All these things are there altogether. And from this portion, dissatisfaction of people, you underline the points why people were dissatisfied. Otherwise, why people felt they were suppressed. Almost at the middle portion, after fourth line, middle portion, at this time the people were suppressed under this dictatorial regime of British. In addition to that, the reforms made by the Dalhousie added fuel to fire. Different people reacted differently to railway, facilities of post and telegraph, and Western education also. Orthodox people felt that the British wanted to destroy their culture. Actually, the reforms done by the British were basically running for administration smoothly only. Up to here, this also to be learned. What were the reasons for the dissatisfaction against the reforms of Dalhousie? I think it is clear now. Now gradually, because of all these things happened, 1857 revolt. Here it is 1857 only, year is same only, universities and everything established. 1856 was the last year of Dalhousie. 1857 revolt is there, but we will learn about that after completing the other lessons, means in the last lesson only. Now the question answers, let us see. On the outline map of India, mark Satar, Nagapur and Jhansi. Now no need to do this question we will do afterwards. The map work I will give you later. Then how did the British benefit by subsidiary alliance and annexation policy? What is the answer? How did the British benefit by subsidiary and annexation policy? The Britishers won many territories, the Indian princely states, by introducing this policy. Here he should mention what is subsidiary alliance and what is annexation and which regions they had taken. Not as short note, but very simply. Subsidiary alliance, just to define that, and the regions under subsidiary alliance they had taken, and annexation policy, just to explain annexation policy and doctrine of lapse, the regions also. So this way, just to write this answer. Third one, why were the British not successful in establishing their rule in Punjab during the reign of Maharaja Ranjit Singh? That answer is there, page number 21. Maharaja Ranjit, first paragraph itself, Ranjit Singh was a strong ruler of that time. He had set up a strong army with the help of European officers for the protection of the state. He had obtained victories over many nearby states. After his death, Punjab suffered anarchy. And here also, from you should remember, from page number 20, fifth line, last fifth line, British had an ambition to capture the Sikh kingdom, which was a very powerful kingdom, but they could not do so as long as Maharaja Ranjit Singh was alive. From there you start up to Punjab suffered anarchy, up to there. Next one, what reforms were made by Dalhousie in India? These points I already explained. Point wise you can write reforms made by Dalhousie. The following are the reforms made by Dalhousie in India, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Point wise you can write. And subsidiary alliance and annexation policy already I had given you as the short note topic. Now the CW and workbook. CW must be completed by Friday, and workbook by Monday. If any doubt is there, personally contact me. Okay. And the another thing is that from government there will be an exam in next week. Social science 4 lessons will be there. Today your class teacher will give you message. Already 2 lessons class test I had taken. So prepare for that. The date and everything through your WhatsApp group you will get. But social science 4 lessons we had completed. 4 lessons will be there. So prepare for that. It is government's exam, and the book you should submit of this. Class test book no need to submit. But whatever the exams taken by government, the question paper we will send, that test notebook will be collecting by us. We will give time and everything when the parents should come and give the book, and at the same time you